Let's do a little bit more work on variables. Have a look at the code that I've written in here. First of all, I've said that I'm going to want 3 variables because I'm going to want to store a first name and a surname and an age. But because age is a number, and in that fact a whole number, instead of declaring it to be a string, I've declared it to be an int or an integer, a whole number. Why would I do that? Why not just say everything's a string? Well, first of all, strings take up a lot of space. Integers are more efficient users of space. But also, I don't want to be able to do things with an age that you can't do with an age. So by declaring it to be an integer, I am limiting what I can actually do with the variable age and what information I can store in it. I've added some lines to my program that will write out the question, enter your name, wait for the user to type in their name and store it in first name, then ask them for their surname, and then store that surname in the variable surname. One thing to note here that instead of using console write line, I've used console write. Have a look at the difference that makes when I run my program. Remember, what it's doing as we wait for it to load up is that it's converting our C# code into machine code so that it can actually run it. Notice that as it runs here, the words enter your first name appear, but my cursor is flashing at the end of that statement. And that's what the console write does. It writes the words and leaves the cursor on the same line, where the write line, the cursor would be flashing down here. So currently my program asks for the first name, asks for the surname, then asks how old you are, and stops. Look at how my code works for that. In this case, those are the 2 questions for first name and surname. Then it displays the message, welcome, followed by my first name, a space and my surname. Remember, the term for joining strings together like this is called concatenation. And then ask the question how old you are, and has the read line instruction that sits and waits for me to type in how old I am, but currently it does not store that information. And because it's not storing that information and I haven't used the variable age, that's why age is underlined in green here. It's saying you've created me, but you don't use me. Why? So at this point, I want to be able to say, read in the age and store it in the variable age. But when I do that, it underlines the console read line in red. Notice that's exactly the same as I had here, so why doesn't it work here? It doesn't work here because anything that is read from the keyboard is a string. But age is an integer, and I need to tell it to convert this information that's a string into an integer to store it in the variable age. There are a couple of ways of doing that, but for now we're going to use the int.parse instruction. You put int.parse and then put the console read line in brackets. And what that says to do is to read in this information, convert it to an integer, and then store it in the variable age. You need to do the parse instruction for anything that is not a string.